Is that the first view, Sarah?
Yes, yes. These are the first, I guess, like 4 or 5 slides, and then after that, we'll continue with the videos.
Okay.
And I have the whole presentation as backup in case the videos don't work. So this technically is everything, but I'm only really going to use the beginning.
Sounds good.
It kicked me out.
Like your video or, oh, the share screen?
Yeah, I don't know. And the Zoom is loading, so I'm not sure. I don't know if other people are having that problem, but it just like kicked me out.
Oh, you're only on your phone. But
yeah.
who was there?
Okay. Dang it, it must be me. Okay.
Do you have the document on your phone?
Or you can send it to me if you like as well.
Okay. Dang, I think it's okay. I think it's my Wi-Fi. I'm hardwired in. Hold on.
Love your plants, Julissa. You have a lot of plants.
Thank you. I turned so you could see the other side of our room in here.
Yeah.
It looks probably nicer. We're facing the board over there.
Yeah. But it's a good background. Are they all real plants?
None of them.
Well, don't tell anyone. On video, they look real.
We killed nothing over here.
You don't risk it. Actually, I left a plant at Launch SA, and since we haven't been back since March 16, I'm pretty sure it's dead. Even though it's like one of those succulents that doesn't need a lot of water, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the library's been closed all this time, right?
Yes, I mean they started doing curbside and all that, and actually they're using part of our space for a call center for human services, the cities. So we still have to see what programming looks like for the next months and see if we will be able to facilitate through the space or just do it all online.
We've been doing a mixture. A lot of it is virtual, but we still have people coming in, right? And so we just wear masks and separate as much as we can.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also, you're part of like co-working and everything, so it's people needing the space.
Well, the incubator space, they have access 24/7, so each of them have their own space. We're just not having group sessions. So they come in and out and run their business, right? So we try not to get in their way.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, if you're okay, I'm gonna get started. So hi everyone, thank you for joining. If anybody's on YouTube, thank you for being here, and anybody watching this after the fact, since we're recording this, thank you. This is San Antonio Entrepreneurship Week. This is our last day, so if you made it through the whole week, thank you for being here and catching the sessions. If this is your first time doing this, this is also our first time doing it online, although we've been doing San Antonio Entrepreneurship Week since 2016. And we use this platform to celebrate and inspire the community, local businesses, and small business owners or aspiring entrepreneurs with local stories and perspectives. And this year, the theme, and I think more than ever, we need to stay together, and our theme is resilience, and just to continue to inspire and celebrate small business owners in San Antonio. before we begin our session, I really want to thank our sponsors. Right now we have Sarah that works with the Economic Development Department with the City of San Antonio and Live Fund. We also thank Trinity University and Open Security for supporting the efforts to create mediums of education and just community building programming that let us support our fellow entrepreneurs. Finally, I want to ask for anybody that's on the call, if you need to ask any questions, please do so using the chat. We'll relay those questions to Sarah and Julissa speaking today. And also on YouTube, we'll try to put those in through Zoom. And then at the end, they'll also share their contact information. So if you think of anything, you can always reach out to them. So just please be courteous. We'll mute you just to make the most out of the session. And again, thank you. And I'll leave it to Sarah.
All right. Thank you, Daniela. I appreciate it. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for allowing us to present today. So I will kick us off. As Daniela mentioned, my name is Sarah Olivares. I work for the City of San Antonio's Economic Development Department, specifically within one of our offices called the Small Business Office. So my focus is outreach, marketing, just really getting connected with our small business and entrepreneurship community and seeing how I can better connect them to other city resources or other partners like Julissa here from Maestro and Mari, or Launch SA, or some other partners as well. So before I introduce our vendor, our special guest today, Julissa, I want to just go over the agenda with you all really briefly. So as you can see here, we're getting into the introductions. We will do the vendor interview. Julissa and Mari then from Maestro have a special message to share with you all. After that presentation, we will be taking Q&A. So as Daniela mentioned, just please notate your questions here in the chat box, and then we will answer those. And then finally, the second half, we're estimating at about 150, depending on what questions and things we have. We'll kick off our procurement process overview. So that we'll touch on our three departments. Then at the end, we can do a Q&A. So really excited to get started. Let me just go over the etiquette here. So like I said, any questions, comments, things like that you have, please just notate it in the chat. Our Q&A will happen halfway and then at the end after each of those sessions. And then the questions will be read out. So just notate it in the chat and we'll read it out for you. And then at the end, I will share all these materials with Launch SA so that way they can follow up with you all after Entrepreneurship Week and just make sure to share everything. So awesome. So with that, I want to introduce Julissa Carielo. She is the president and founder of Tejas Premier. So thank you so much for being here with us, Julissa. I'll touch a little bit on your bio because it's a lot. I mean, you've done so much in your career for the entrepreneurship and small business community. I'm just excited to be able to feature you. So another reason that I also want to include Julissa and Mari as well with her is because of their Maestro Center connection. So the Maestro Entrepreneurship Center is a place to help small business owners and entrepreneurs, as well as a co-working space too. So Julissa is very accomplished. She has over 25 years of experience, specifically for her business, Tejas Premier. It's in the construction industry. And so she's going to talk to us a little bit about some of her experience navigating the city's procurement process. So please feel free to listen to the Q&A, to the interview that we're going to go through right now, and then notate any questions you have, and we'll get started. So Julissa, thank you so much for being here. Just to kick us off, I'm sure you want to say a little bit more about yourself, just a brief introduction for us on who you are, your role, and a little bit more about Tejas Premier.
First, thank you so much, Sarah, for inviting me, right? And for Launch SA for putting this program together. So I'm Julissa Carielo. I own Tejas Premier Building Contractor, and I've been in the construction industry 25 years. I completely love it. It is my industry, and I love working with all kinds of vendors and learning about their stories and what we can do together, right? And so I'm just excited to be here.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Julissa. So my first question, I'm just going to jump right in, is how long have you done business with the city of San Antonio?
I've done business probably around 8 years, and it was not my first thing at first. I will tell you, as a business owner, I was a little intimidated by just thinking of the city's process was going to be overwhelming. It wasn't, but I thought it was. And I guess also I thought that it was not small business friendly, right? That was my first thoughts. And again, that's not the case either, right? And so once we learned what to do, it was completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was answering my second question. So thinking back to the first time you ever had the opportunity to bid on a city contract, how did you go about the application process? How did you win? I know you said it was intimidating, but you obviously have navigated it. So tell us a little bit more about how that got started.
I think at first like with all new clients, I try something smaller size first, and I see whether it's going to benefit us or not, right? Our biggest thing as business owners is looking to see what would be something that we can manage. And I wanted to first see, is working with the city something that my company could manage, or what I needed to put in place to make sure that I was successful, right? And so we didn't go after a big project at first. I started with something small, and just really to learn the processes of what was happening, and more importantly, learn the bidding requirements, so that we can understand how you pay, how we bill, the communication back and forth, and how we would work best as a team trying to construct something. So that's kind of how we approach that.
Okay, awesome. And that's really helpful and good advice for other small business owners. That's a question that I get and my team gets a lot. How does it actually work? I mean, how do I do it? It seems so intimidating. So for you to say that you've done it took some thought, took some research and evaluation, but you've done it. So it's definitely means it's a possibility for others. Okay, so then I guess thinking now to the present time and how you kind of navigate this process 8 years later now, how do you evaluate and determine which bids or which contracts you go for? How do you determine that?
I think for us, really, we try to look at clients and see, because we do construction. I want to get with the client and work for year after year, right? So at first it's just identifying, is it a good client for us? And definitely it was, because you have over 800 buildings that we can easily go out and work on so many things. It's also looking at the type of projects that you put out. What I like is that you put out a variety of stuff, so it makes it easy for us to pick and choose the things that we want to be known for. Also the type of projects based on our competition, who's going to be there, because as we start bidding more work, we learn who the competition is, and we learn what's going to make us more successful to get the project.
Okay, awesome. I mean, that's absolutely true. It does. I guess, yes, as you grow, as you evolve, you kind of get a little bit better about picking those out. So that's awesome. And that is true. There is a lot of work to be done in the city, especially for construction. So my next question is, what is one piece of advice that you would want to leave with small business owners that are trying to navigate this process right now?
What I would say is, after being here and working for the city for a while, I would say that if you have questions, ask them. The staff is really good about responding. Most of the time is getting the proposal ahead of time, so that you're spending time understanding what you're going to have to submit so that you get the job. A lot of the small business owners wait till the very last day when it's due, and then it's panic mode, right? But understanding the process, understanding the SAEW program that's put together for to make it advantageous for the small businesses to get selected, it's something that most businesses don't understand. And I think that's something that is, as they learn to navigate through it, it's actually there to help them. The other thing is when you do not get the job, which I have applied for 100 projects that I have not received, right? And I learned from every single one of them. And so I'll go back and find out from the client what I'm submitting. If it's not just on price, then what is it that I'm submitting on that is not giving me the points that I need to get? And each of the clients will give you a debriefing. They'll tell you this is where, you know, your strengths and these are your weaknesses, and improve it and then resubmit. Don't give up when you didn't get the job the first time, because none of us do. And I think that that's something that we need to understand what we're submitting, because we're not getting it right. And we can do better and then keep improving so we have a better chance. What I do like about the city structure that's set up for bidding is that if you can learn this process, you'll be able to do work in all the other agencies that are, you know, the SAWs and the CPSs and the VIAs, because they follow pretty much the same structure. And the advantage is that the city has the staff to help train. Some of the others are limited on staff, and so they won't be responding on questions as much, but here they do. And so use it as a training tool, but also, you know, to develop the scalability that you're able to do with other agencies.
Awesome. And you're right. You're absolutely right. Once you've kind of done it and experienced it, you learn each time and just apply those principles to the next one. And then you are right about it being very similar to SAWs and CPS. That's absolutely true. So that is good advice for others. Thank you. I'll jump right into our next question. So what are some of the typical challenges working on a city project, and how have you overcome it? I know you've had lots of years of experience, so I'm sure it does vary project by project, but if there are common ones that are things we can think about.
I think at first, now it's different. So if I remember when I first started bidding at the city, understanding the bid process at first was a little bit different, because every agency does it differently, right? But again, knowing and asking questions at the pre-bid meetings, it's very important, because they'll explain step by step. And not waiting till bid day, right? Get a hold of the people that are going to help you way early. The other thing I will tell you is that the staff, even the construction staff or other procurement partners from the different departments, they are human beings, right? So if something goes wrong, go talk to them and offer solutions. Don't just walk away and not finish. Like, go back and say, here's what went wrong, but here's what we're going to do to fix it. They will work with you. Their biggest thing is communicate, that I have seen that makes a big difference. The other thing that a lot of vendors think when they arrive, that the city takes 90 days to pay. That's not true. I mean, I've seen stuff in 10 days, 12 days, 20 days. I mean, that is typical. And so that is very good for cash flow when you're bidding these projects. And so just understanding what they've set up to help the small businesses to come and bid work, right?
Absolutely. And I do remember when we had spoken about this before, you had also mentioned about bonding and some of the resources that you've accessed through the Small Business Administration. That's a question that we do get a lot. Can you speak a little bit more on that and kind of your experience as you navigated through that?
Yes. So when I first started doing construction projects, of course, you have to have bonding to be able to go after projects over, I think, 100,000 or something. And bonding was something that is not that easy to get. And I remember calling my bonding agent, and he's like, "You've been in business 2 weeks, like, you can't get bonding." And I thought, well, that's your job, to get me bonding, right? So how can I make it easy for you to give me bonding? And one of the things that I immediately learned from was that the Small Business Administration had a bonding program. And so I called my agent and I said, I need you to come to this session with me, because together we're going to learn how you're going to give me bonding. And so after that session, I was able to get bonding. And so the SBA would guarantee 80% of the bond, which made it really easy for them to say, okay, we can give you one. And they, I believe it goes up to 4 million. So it is an avenue. I used it for the first couple of years until I grew out of that level. And then it makes it easier for me to go get my own bonding now.
Okay, that's awesome. And that's something that, I mean, I've talked about this within our departments. I mean, even the county faces these issues as well too, and that people just, at least starting off with the process, they just don't know what to do. And so that's good that you yourself have been able to use the Small Business Administration to help you get started. So it's not just, just going to an agent. There are other resources as well too that you access, that other people can access too. So thank you for adding that. I know that was something that had come up before, so I was like, I want to make sure and have you mention that. And then I technically only have one more scripted question. I feel like we're going super fast. But the last scripted question that I have here listed is, out of all the contracts, out of all the bids that you've worked on, what has been the biggest lesson learned with the city of San Antonio and kind of that process that you've gone through?
The biggest lesson learned, right? I think the number one is that I waited too long, right? I've been in business 14 years and I should have started with the city first. It's in my backyard. I didn't because I was intimidated about thinking that it would be too hard. But now that I've been with the city working, now I look for long-term contracts. I look for larger stuff that I can, be there for a year or a year and a half on these projects. And I love working. The staff is amazing. And so really the support that you get as an entrepreneur or a vendor it really makes it easy to be successful working for the city. And it's something that I think is not really told enough. And that story is what really makes a difference for more vendors to come. And as we're business owners, we're choosing where is it easier for us to get things done, because we don't have a lot of resources, right? And so to choose clients that make it easy for you to be successful and you're able to just be project after project, this is definitely a place that you want to be.
Absolutely. And that is, I mean, that's true. That is a really big takeaway. And you're right. We are all here to help ultimately, because that's what we want to see as well too. We have we have the SPADA program. We have other preference points and programs like that, because we want to work with local small businesses, minority-owned businesses. That's what we want. So absolutely, that is a good lesson learned. So I know I guess these were all the official questions I had. I know just because I know you, I know that you've done more than just city bids and opportunities. Do you want to talk a little bit more about your experience as serving on the Small Business Advocacy Committee? Because that's something that not a lot of people know about. So if you're okay with it, I would love for you to just share a little bit about your experience and kind of how, I don't know if you went from contracting to the committee or you went to the committee first and then kind of navigated that, but I would love to hear a little bit more about that, and I'm sure people would.
Interestingly, I want to say that when I went to I was doing a lot of federal work, right? And so I was already working for the federal government. And then I thought, how do I diverse my business into other avenues, which the city, the county, UHS, the VIA, those are the other agencies that I was looking at. Again, I'm looking for clients that have tons of buildings where I can just stay with. I don't need 100 clients. I just need 100 buildings to look at, right? So I was looking at a different approach, but when I did my first project at the city of San Antonio, I had bid a project and it was about $100,000 project. And then I got a phone call and they said, you're low, we're going to recommend you, but we need you to look at your self-performing and you know, pick up some vendors instead, because we like to use small business. And I thought, well, but I am a small business. I mean, you want me to lay off my people? It doesn't make any sense. And I just thought, how am I going to do this? And so I remember having a conversation with Alex, and I said, you know, I'm a new vendor here, and I don't understand how this could be. And she says, well, that's how our process is right now. And she said, if you help us join the Small Business Advocacy Committee, we can hear your thoughts and understand where this is coming from. And so that's how I got involved, by serving on the Small Business Advocacy Committee and helping restructure the SAEW program so that it actually allows the businesses to self-perform, and it counts towards that utilization points instead of always having to go somewhere else, which I thought makes no sense when you're already small, right? And you're trying to grow, and you have to be able to add more staff and not reduce it. And so I was happy that the staff was open to listening to the actual problems and even solutions, which really help implement the plan that we're using today. And so I think it's very important when the city puts together the committees of different things, especially when they relate to small business, that you come and speak, because the citizens to be heard about how it's affecting your business. If it's not helping you, it's probably not helping a whole bunch of others either. And if they don't know that the process is affecting you that way, they won't make a change. But once they know, then they dig into it and they make changes, right? And that's the only way we're all going to advance. So, I mean, if I think of it, when I started 14 years ago, I've grown so much as a leader in my business, just by being involved in the community and doing different things. And really, you learn from business owners and from different leaders how they approach things. And it helps you be a better leader too.
Awesome. Okay, that's really insightful. And I didn't know that story about you joining the SBAC committee. So that's really interesting. Awesome. So I don't have any other specific questions. I want to see if we on the chat, if we have anything. I haven't been paying attention if there are questions or, let me see here on the chat. Let me stop sharing it and see. Okay, do we have any chat questions? Nothing? Okay, no questions. Okay, no questions. Is there, I want to, continue moving forward for the sake of time. Is there anything else that you would want to add, just for people listening on, the other live streams, or later on whenever they tune back into this? Is there anything else that you would want to add to let other small business owners know that this is possible and that there are people there to help support?
I think just knowing that the collaboration that happens with the agencies, it's a big thing, and small businesses is important to this community, and there's so many programs established to help those small businesses grow. And a lot of them, I know that, like the Maestro Center, we do things in English and Spanish. Our biggest thing is letting you know, hey, you have a place to go. You have a place that's safe, and that we all provide different services, and we lean on each other more than anything. And that to me is what really identifies what San Antonio is about, right? And how we do things. And to take that approach when you have a problem or you have an issue. And the reality is we all have the same type of issues happening in our business. Some are just larger scale than smaller, but it's really the same stuff. And so a lot of the times there's so many businesses that are really willing to mentor and assist each other, because we want to help each other grow, right? And so we need to just remember to try to take that approach in everything we do. And I know that Mari's going to be talking about the Maestro Center, which is very dear to me. And so establishing that kind of a program was done really because I kept seeing the need right? And I thought, I mean, we need so much help. We need like someone to really give us that place where we can feel safe. And that is really what the center is about. And I know Mari will describe a little bit more about it, but it's really just knowing that we lean on our agencies, that they're all a part about helping grow our small businesses, and it makes a bigger impact when we work together. And so I'm just excited that we have a community that's open for that, and that they listen, that the ecosystem is driven by the work that we do, right? And just knowing that we have that support. So I'm happy to hand it over here soon, right? Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much, Julissa. Yes, so with that, I know Mari's there with you, so we can definitely turn it over, and that way Mari can talk a little bit more about the Maestro Center. So just for those of y'all that don't know, Julissa actually founded the Maestro Entrepreneur Center, and then Mari here is the current executive director. So she wanted to just add a few more words and talk a little bit about the resources here. So I'll leave it to you, Mari, go ahead.
Of course. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited and honored to be here. And as Julissa mentioned, we are a center that takes everybody in. We offer incubation space. We currently have a whole building devoted for construction companies, companies in the construction industry. We do have warehouses, yard space, anything available for specifically that industry. But not only that, we also have several different other buildings where we incubate professional services, artists, you name it. We also have an incubation kitchen for those in the culinary industry that are seeking for a commercial kitchen space. We offer that as well. But my main point and why I wanted to be on this call today is to talk about the Buy Local, Grow SA initiative. We launched this program early May. It was the soft launch, but the actual launch is actually today. So I want to play a video. And Sarah, I don't know if I can't share my screen for some reason.
Okay, I'll do it. I can play the video here.
Awesome.
Give me a second. Let me just share that.
The audio is not working, Sarah. Yeah, audio. Sarah, our audio is not working for some reason. I can't hear it in my end.
Still not working. Okay. I don't know, that's weird. Okay, I can, I guess I can do the closed captioning for now, and then I'll share it in the chat. I don't know why I have it on. I'm not sure if why it's not working.
No worries, no worries. I can talk a little bit about it. So Buy Local, Grow SA it's an initiative we put together alongside with the City of San Antonio and Bexar County to create a website with a one-stop shop for small businesses. And because today's talk was about procurement opportunities, we're working really hard to put a very robust procurement opportunity website where business owners can find different opportunities. And actually that resource is going to become available very shortly. We're enhancing the website, and thank you for I want to thank also our partners like HEB and Wells Fargo that also has supported this initiative. And if we go, I don't know if you're able to pull up procurement opportunity side, Sarah, because we're listing a lot of other procurement opportunities, like Lisa mentioned, not only the cities, but Bexar counties and SAWS and VIA and a lot of our partners. And we're putting together a very robust search engine so that it's easy for small businesses to look for those opportunities. So if you haven't registered already, I invite you to go ahead and do so by visiting maestrocenter.org, and you'll go to the Buy Local website in our homepage. And I really want you to go ahead and take that opportunity. And as you see, a lot of businesses have already registered, and it's completely for free. You can create your business profile. You can interact and connect business to business. But not only that, we have our big agencies also participating, so they're going to be able to communicate directly through our website. So if you haven't done so already, I invite you to buy local and grow SA by joining our website and becoming a part of that resource page for free. So thank you, Sarah, and that's all I have for today. Is there any questions for me?
I'm not seeing any in the chat, Mari. I'm gonna copy and paste the web link so that way others can see it as well. And then I'll go on after this and comment on the YouTube page as well, so that way we can have people that can see it.
Okay, perfect, Sarah. Now, it was a pleasure being here today. And if you all have any questions, feel free to email me. We're open. The Maestro Center is open. We're giving tours. We're providing training. So if you're out there and you need help, I know right now we're going through difficult times. We're here to help. We're here to support. If you need mentorship, if you need training, if you need office space, we're here. So just shoot me an email. My email address is mari@maestrocenter.org. So feel free to email me. I would be more than happy to answer any questions or help you in any way I can. So that's mari@maestrocenter.org. Thank you very much, Sarah, and the Launch SA team as well.
Awesome. Okay, I just added some of those links. Thank you so much, Mari, and thank you again, Julissa, for sharing your experience in working with the city. There she is. All right, thank y'all so much. I know y'all have to run to the next meeting. If there are other questions that come up, we will definitely notate them and then follow up with you all after this as well. But thank y'all so much. I appreciate it. Awesome, thank y'all. Okay, so we're doing really good on time, y'all. We might end a little bit before 2:30, depending on what other questions and things we have. So I'm going to go ahead and just give me a few seconds. I'm going to go ahead and kick us off for the next portion. So that's going to be our procurement process. So as y'all heard, Julissa, in the beginning, she kind of talked about her experience working with the city. So, you know, it's been several years and it did take her some time to navigate the process and learn. But now that she has that experience, she's able to continue to apply for other opportunities. And so this is something that we get questioned all the time, but, you know, how can I really do it? I, you know, haven't met anybody that's won an opportunity. So that's why we wanted to feature Julissa and just kind of have her talk through her experience. And I know she's a really great mentor. So if anybody, you know, does have questions, I know that she would be willing to answer them and set some time aside just to talk to any small business owner about that. So with that, this next section is all about the city's procurement process. So you'll hear from myself, from the Economic Development Department, our Finance Department, as well as our Public Works Department. What we did for you all is create some handy dandy videos, so super fancy, really nice. We go through each PowerPoint presentation slide and we speak through it. So what I'm going to do is start to play the first video, so that way we can go through it. Again, please notate your questions in the comment box. And then we would love your feedback on these videos as well. This is the first time we're doing it. We all had to learn a little bit more about technology because we haven't done anything like this before. So we would appreciate if you let us know, you know, any feedback that you have on those videos. So with that, just give me a few seconds. I'm going to get us kicked off with the first video. Okay. Okay. So I'm hearing that the video isn't working. Is that the case? Is the video not working for you all, or can y'all not hear?
I can't hear Sarah. It might be because you're muted on your computer, maybe.
Okay. I unmuted it.
And
Okay.
and then just mute your phone.
Okay. Yeah. Let me just try one more time. I'm sorry about that. Give me just a second.
Also, make sure to share the audio when you share the screen. I don't know if you did that, but
Let me make sure. I'm gonna try it again, and then if it doesn't work, then I'll just go live. So give me just a second. Okay, I think I'm just gonna have to do it live. I'm not sure why the video isn't working for me. Okay, I'm just gonna go live then and just do the presentation here. So give me just one moment. Let me pull everything up again. Man. Okay, and then I have my notes pulled up here. Okay, so I gotta go back and share. Okay, so hopefully y'all can see this, I'm sure, right? Okay, awesome.
Yes.
So, okay, perfect. So then I'm just gonna do it live, and I hope that the other videos work, because we were like so excited to play them for y'all. But anyways, so as I mentioned earlier, we're gonna overview the procurement process with the city. So to kick that off, I will get started. Then I'm going to introduce our Public Works Department and then our Finance Department, because they have their own sections here. At the very end, we'll do a high-level overview of kind of what we spoke about. And then we'll be able to answer any other questions, anything like that. So as I was mentioning, Julissa Carielo was with us at the very beginning as a vendor, and she's navigated this process. And so we just wanted to have her kick us off. And then I'm going to continue moving forward through this. So as a review, I'm going to go through the vendor registration and certification process. So what we do is that we recommend that people prepare before submitting their bid opportunity. So there are 3 steps that we recommend, as y'all can see here. The first is we encourage people to register as a vendor with the city. Super simple, it's free to do. And then we are coming out with a video here very soon that people will be able to watch to see it. The next thing we then encourage is to get certification through the South Central Texas Regional Certification Agency, or SCTRCA. So that's a mouthful, but they're really great. That's also a free certification that you can get for any small, minority, or women-owned business within this area of Texas. The last thing we also recommend is to try as best as you can to understand the procurement process. It can be a beast sometimes, especially as this is something new that you're learning. So we just try to recommend to understand it and definitely ask questions to our staff as well to get you to help. All right, so the next thing, the first thing, as I mentioned, is to register as a vendor. We call this our city's central vendor registry. It's also known as SAEPS, the San Antonio e-procurement system. So it's relatively simple to do. We do have staff that manage this program as well, this software system as well. And it's really great because you can receive notifications of upcoming contract opportunities, receive any important updates and event information, and then you can also participate in electronic bidding. So as of right now, due to COVID-19, we are only accepting electronic bids, but in future, of course, this will change, but that's another cool function that we have there. So this SAEPS system is used for all projects, so you'll be able to see all of them in there. The second thing we also encourage, this is specifically for construction and design. We recommend registering in the CivCast system. So this is a separate system from our SAEPS portal. And this is managed by our Public Works Department. We won't go super in depth, but we will have some staff on standby at the very end to answer any questions that you might have about that system. So the second thing, as I mentioned, was to get certified through the SCTRCA. So this is a free certification, and we encourage this because it does help set your business apart for specific contract opportunities, especially as we go more in depth and I talk about the SPADA program a bit later. So the really cool thing about this is that this application is all online as well, so you don't have to go in person, touch anything like that. You can be safe. And it's on their website. So if you go to sctrca.org, you can find it. And I'll definitely share that in the chat at the end of this. We also wanted to point out those bullet points here at the bottom. So they follow the Small Business Administration size standard for a small business. Anytime you get a minority or women certification, the expectation is that at least 51% or more are owned by a minority or women-owned woman, excuse me. And that last thing is the disadvantaged business enterprise and airport concessionaire. Those follow federal requirements because that is set by the federal government. And so the next thing I'll get into before I kick it off to our next department team member is to try to understand the solicitation types. So it's not perfect, but we tried to kind of show you all with these two specific types that the city uses and kind of go through this graph. So on the left side is discretionary, and then on the right side are low bid solicitation types. So on the left, discretionary projects, those are typically service oriented. So for example, all requests for proposals, RFPs, or requests for competitive sealed proposals, RFCSPs. Some of those examples could be like financial services, consulting, or marketing and advertising. Those are just some examples. Whereas on the other side, for any low bid opportunities, this is the most common way that the city buys or purchases commodities in any construction projects. So this could be something like office furniture, any streets or sidewalk construction. So just some of those examples. The other type of project, going back to discretionary, is that each project has a specific scope of work, but this evaluation is based on the proposal that's submitted. So how we evaluate, we look at your experience, your qualifications, and also the background. For this type, if price is applicable, we'll also look at that. On the other hand, for low bid, the main criteria is price. So for this, typically the lowest bidder who at least meets the minimum requirements will be awarded that solicitation. And then going back, so we have defined these preference point programs on both of them, and we'll definitely talk more about that later on in this session. But just for discretionary, note that the city scores proposals on a scale of 0 to 100 for those preference points programs. And the city can provide up to 20 points for the SPADA program, which we'll talk about later, 10 for the local program, and then 5 for the veteran-owned program. So note that we'll go through all of this later. And then on the solicitation type, it is very similar. I'm sorry, on the low bid side, it is very similar. But local vendors are able to benefit at least 3% price preference. And then the same thing as discretionary bids, up to 40% can be used as a subcontracting goal. So that's the end of my part for now. I'm going to go back and just try to test out this video and see if it works for my next counterpart. So just bear with me. I'm trying to get this done and make sure that it works for you all. So just give me another second as I transition to the next video, and hopefully it will work. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all, having more video issues.
If you want to send it to me, Sarah, I can try as you maybe go to the next one.
Okay, yeah, let me try to do that. Dang it, I'm like, oh, we work so hard on these, so I'm like, oh, please work. Okay, I'm sorry, just give me another second. I'm so sorry.
And they were working before, so.
Yeah, so I don't know, it's just probably me. Give me one moment and I'll send that to you.
Let Ben help you.
Yes, I'm like, please work. Okay, I'm getting the email sent out. I know next is our Public Works Department. So I don't know if anybody is on the line to just, if I want to add a few things while I get this loaded. I just feel bad that I'm silent right now trying to get it going. So I'm sorry about this, y'all.
I don't know if anybody else, I think Monica and Hugo are in there, but you guys used to do this event pretty often, the vendor event. So I'm wondering, how can people still get that information and those resources? Are you planning to do another one like that, like online?
Yeah, no, that's an awesome question. I should have mentioned that at the beginning, but Yes, so as of right now, the city is all remote, so everybody's working remote. As of right now, they're estimating possibly until September 1st, we will all be remote. So that definitely affects all of our programming and all the things that we had planned for the year. I'm sure as same thing with you all have changed. So as of right now, we're planning to do it online, similar to this, but actually working properly. And then we had created these amazing videos that are giving me trouble right now. So our plan is to be able to post this information on the city's website. So that way, besides the vendor events that we typically do every other month, it'll be available on the website. So you can go to the finance department's website, our website, and look at these videos, because we spent a lot of time and we put in this work, and we were just really, or I was hoping that it was going to work out, and it did.
And so we can, if you send them to Launch SA, we can also help you just distribute among the people that register for SAEW as well. That way we have that content available. And
yeah, of course.
On YouTube, if you didn't register for the week, make sure you register. That way we can share that with all registrants.
Okay, yes, and I'm trying to send you the videos right now. It's, I guess because they're so big, it's taking a little bit long to load, but if I have anyone from our public works department that's just ready in case these videos aren't going to work, just to be ready to step in and just kind of overview that presentation. And then same thing for the purchasing department as well, just in case that video is not working either. Just be ready, y'all. I'm working on it. It was working fine earlier, so oh well. We tried. We're trying.
So, I mean, I don't know if you could touch a little bit more in terms of maybe help or ways that people can communicate, or what resources, what's the best way to engage with the city resource and just get news about what's going on, maybe resources for COVID or other things.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome question. Thank you for asking, Daniela. So as of right now, like I said, we're all working remote. However, everything comes to us. So the good thing with that is that we are also able to take calls. We're able to do meetings virtually or on the phone. We still get emails. One way that we've been encouraging people is the city has a specific COVID website. So if you go to COVID-19, all one word, .sanantonio.gov, that is one way that you can look at some of the resources that we're providing, and we're also sharing out information. So if there's a resource, for example, from the Small Business Administration, or I know that you all have been on that site as well too with some of the different programming that y'all are doing, we're trying to list it and put it on there. So that's definitely a place where you can interact. Additionally, if you go on the Economic Development Department's page on our homepage, it's sanantonio.gov/EDD. If you go in there, there's ways to reach us. Our phone number is still there. We're still taking calls. Our website is still up. We are taking emails as well. And I know Hugo's on the line as well, and Diane, Monica, we're all here to assist in our department with what you need. Additionally, if you don't have a way to reach out to us or are confused, we do work closely with Daniela and Brian and the team at Launch SA. So absolutely, if you prefer to connect with them to then connect with the city, that's definitely another way that would work as well. So we're trying to be present and to be here. It's been very crazy, as y'all can imagine, with everything going on with the COVID-19. I'm still having trouble with these videos, Daniela, so I'm just gonna call it and say we go live onto the next presentation deck, which is our Public Works Department. So I can share my screen if the person from that department that's on the line just wants to unmute, or if we're able to unmute them, so that way they can move forward. And if you just say next slide, then I can control the slides for you all.
Okay, hi Sarah, this is Angelica. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Angelica. I'm so sorry, your video was amazing and it's not working right now, so I apologize for that.
I'm ready to do it live. I'm just gonna need your help when I say next slide. And it's probably going to be a little shorter than my video. So
that's absolutely fine. So I'm loading here. Okay, so I'm ready. So just say next, and then I'll go on to the next slide.
okay, that sounds good. Good afternoon. My name is Angelica Mata, and I am the contract administrator for the Public Works Department. I support this department in the contracting and procurement process for both design and construction services. So I would like to take a little bit of time to talk about the bidding process for construction and design services for this department. So on the next slide, Public Works has a mission, and their mission is that through innovation and dedication, we build and maintain San Antonio's infrastructure. So this department is basically responsible for two things. We're responsible for designing and construction, or doing the construction for those projects that we design. Some of the responsibilities include that this department is responsible for the bond program and other capital improvement projects. So some of these projects include the reconstruction of roads, replacement of underground utilities, replacement of sidewalks and driveway approaches. This department is also responsible for construction of new libraries, fire stations, community centers, and renovations of buildings. The other item that this department is responsible for is the renovation of parks and other facilities throughout the city of San Antonio. So on the next slide, I will be talking about the delivery methods for construction and design services. Like I mentioned before, we do basically two things. We design and we construct. So on this slide, we have the delivery methods for each item. So for architectural and engineering services, we issue RFQs. For construction services, we issue invitation for bids, request for competitive seal proposals, design build, construction manager at risk, and request for proposals. So what I wanted to mention, going back to architectural and engineering services, some of the services for engineering can include like landscape engineering and also design for buildings. We also procure for engineering services, typically for civil and structural engineering services. In the past, Public Works has issued RFQs to solicit for on-call architectural or engineering services, which means that those contracts are used as needed. So that's why they're called on-call services. One example of Public Works issuing an RFQ for design and architectural services was part of the 2017-2022 bond program. So the Public Works Department issued a huge mass selection to hire engineers and architects for that program. So that was a big opportunity there. Regarding construction services, like I mentioned, we have invitation for bids, and the bulk of the construction work is done, the procurement is done via IFBs, or invitation for bids. The majority of the Public Works construction is procured through this low bid method because we award a contract based on the responsible low bidder. And again, this is based on who submits, or the bidder that submits the lowest price. IFBs are used to procure construction services such as park renovations, drainage, street projects that are part of the bond program. And also IFBs are used for other capital improvement projects such as routine street maintenance to include work on street rehabilitation. This may include paving, asphalt, and concrete work. There are other procurement methods used for the Public Works, but these are discretionary. So anything that below, or that comes after the low bid on this list is considered discretionary. So design build, CMR, RFCSP, RFP. These are considered discretionary because other factors along with price are considered to use or to make a selection. On the next slide, which is the discretion of low bids, if we can go to low bid, the previous. Like I mentioned, low bids are typically just awarded to the low bidder, but we do check a few items. So this is the list of items that we make sure we receive from the bidder. So one is we do check to see that we have a low responsible bidder. We make sure that the contract signature page, which we reference as the 020, is included, and this is critical. The next item is a 024, which is the unit pricing. And this is the type of form that typically we use for lump sum bids only, but we make sure that that form is included. We also check for the 030, which is the experience and qualifications. This form is typically only used for qualified low bids. If, for example, there's this project that has more specialized type of work, we do want to make sure that the contractor reflects their previous experience regarding that type of work. For example, if they've done similar projects in the past, we do require a bid bond to be submitted along with the bid, and two other forms, the subcontractor supplier utilization plan and the form 1295, which is a certificate of interested parties. We want to make sure that all these items are submitted through CIFCAS to make sure that we have the information that's needed to be able to evaluate the proposals, or in this case, the bids. On the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about discretionary solicitations. Like I mentioned before, some of the discretionary solicitations include RFCSP, design build, construction manager at risk. Also, these are considered discretionary because other factors other than price are considered. So we look at the experience, background, qualifications of the firm, the key personnel. We also look at the proposed plan, the team's experience, and again, price. Price doesn't always apply to the first, to all discretionary solicitations. For example, the RFQs for engineering, those are also considered discretionary. However, we don't ask for price at that time. We have a selection. We select the firm, and then we start negotiations. But all the other ones, typically those do include price as part of the evaluation criteria. We ask the firms to provide specific information. So that's what's listed here. We ask the firms to provide examples of similar projects as outlined in the scope of work, in the solicitation, pretty much also making sure that it's the same budget and service as outlined in the solicitation. So we do ask them to provide what we call a project sheet that includes an example of projects that they've done in the past that pretty much matches this scope of work. We also ask the firms to provide a list of team members or proposed team members that will be working on the project that's being solicited, and also for them to indicate the percentage of time that each member will spend on that project. The other item we ask is for the firm to provide project approach, and we like for that project approach to be tailored to the specific scope of the solicitation. Some of the approach can include unique challenges and how they plan to approach those specific challenges and scope of work as outlined in the solicitation. The next slide is kind of a continuation of the previous slide, but this one focuses a little bit more on tips for a successful submission. We want your submittals to be successful, so we do provide some tips. One of the items is just making sure that you tailor your submittal to the scope addressed or outlined in the solicitation. So if it's design build, you want to go ahead and you make sure that you highlight your design build work, your team. The other item is addressing each item in the criteria as outlined in the solicitation. So when you look at the solicitation, there's a list of items or questions that we ask for your firm to provide. So it's very nice when you follow the same order of the questions that are, or the items that are being asked. That way you make sure that you don't miss any items. One key thing that I want to emphasize is making sure that your proposal looks very professional and that it is very organized. It just makes it so much easier for the eye when it's very organized and also looks professional. Remember, there will be a committee, evaluation committee reviewing your proposals, and we want to make it as easy as possible. So it's very easy to review a proposal that's organized, that has the tabs that's indicated. The other bullet point too is also very critical. It's regarding the use of bullet points and tables and photographs. So it becomes very boring if you have a proposal that just has text and sentences. And so providing tables and bullet points and pictures really kind of breaks up that proposal or that text or sentences and makes it a little easier for the committee members that are reviewing your proposal to really focus on those tables and bullet points and be able to find information quickly. So it just makes it so much easier and user-friendly to review that proposal. On the next slide, which is the last slide, I just wanted to provide you with a little bit of submittal instructions. Like Sarah mentioned earlier, that everything is being done through CIVCAS for the Public Works Department. So just want to make sure that if you don't have training on CIVCAS, we can provide that training to you or access to that system. Another item that I want to emphasize is I think this was mentioned in the past regarding attending and asking questions at pre-submittal and pre-bid meetings. I really encourage firms to attend pre-bid meetings and ask questions at that time, but also take advantage of the CIVCAS system to submit questions that they may have before that deadline that's established in the solicitation. If questions are submitted after the deadline, then we will not provide a response. So I highly encourage firms to take advantage of both the pre-bid meeting by attending and also submitting questions through CIVCAS. The other item is ensuring that the firms review and read carefully the addendums posted on CIVCAS. These addendums may include critical information to be able for your firm to develop your proposal. It may include, sometimes we change the bid opening date, so that's critical. We want to make sure that you're aware of those changes, but also changes to the bid documents or plans and specs. The next bullet point is regarding the solicitation deadline for submitting questions, posting addendum, and bid opening. Again, like I mentioned, that those are key dates to make sure that you're aware of the deadline for submitting questions, posting the addendum, and bid opening, so you won't miss out on those critical dates and time. The other item that makes it easier is that we do provide for low bids the 010. That kind of has a list of the items that are required to be submitted for low bids. And for discretionary solicitations, we do have the submittal checklist and table of content that kind of shows the items and how to label those items to make sure that you submit those items through the system also. One critical thing is make sure that you do place your company name, legal name, to match the Texas Secretary of State website. That's the website that we use to check to ensure that your firm is a legitimate firm and that the name matches, making sure that we have the correct firm that is also registered. One thing, the last bullet that I want to emphasize, and this is something that we've had a few instances recently regarding firms wanting to access CIFCAS or submit their items through CIFCAS, and they don't give themselves enough time to be able to submit their documents. So next thing you know, if they don't have enough time, the system will lock them out after the date or the due date for the bid comes up. It'll lock them in the system. So I encourage firms to go in with enough time to be able to submit all the documents and submit their bids. That way, things are submitted on time. We've had several requests, firms wanting us to accept their bid after the deadline, and it's like, I'm sorry, we cannot accept it. So that's a key item that I want to emphasize, just because, like I mentioned, it has happened recently. That's pretty much it. There was kind of more of a high-level overview of the public works and the procurement process, but I hope that this information that I provided you has been beneficial or is informative. And I just want to take the opportunity to thank everyone for being interested in the Public Works Department, and we hope that we get more submittals submitted to support the Public Works mission. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Angelica. Just so you all know, she had an incredible video with her voice, and it was working amazingly. And we're going to share it out with you all because she spent a lot of time to put that together for you all. But we were prepared in case it went down. I did send the next video for the finance department. I was able to get that over to Lanchase team. I don't know, Daniela or Jake, if y'all were able to see that. I'm not sure if it's working on y'all's end.
I got it, but I'm unable to open it. It says to verify, and I'm not a verified email, so it might be just a whole.
Okay, if you maybe if you type in my email, is that okay?
Let me try.
I guess try that. Yeah, because
do you have anybody else that's presenting?
That's the last video. If it doesn't work, I have Charisma from the finance department, but I was hoping that you'd be able to access it to play it because Tony from their Tony Aguilar from their finance department, he spent a lot. We all spent a lot of time. We were trying to get it all perfect and ready, and of course things go wrong on the day of. But I guess let me know if it doesn't work. Then we'll just let Charisma do her video or her portion.
Well, now it's asking me for your password, so I'm guessing I won't be able to do it.
Dang it. Okay. We were like so prepared too. We even practiced and okay. Well then I'll pull back up the screen for the procurement side. I know this was a possibility. Charisma, would you be ready to present on this, or even Jorge, or whoever is more comfortable? And I'll go through the PowerPoint presentation. I'll give her a second. Oh. Can you hear me, Charisma?
I don't know that she's on the call. I can see Jorge.
You see Jorge? Okay.
Just Jorge, I can cover it. That's fine.
Okay. I'm sorry, Jorge. We're trying here. It's technology.
Yeah, it
everybody
can always happen.
Tolerate the noise I have in the background. I apologize. I'm here at the warehouse, but we can go through it. Okay.
No worries, Jorge. Let me pull up the PowerPoint presentation, and if you want to just prompt me next slide, I'll go through that with you, and then my session at the very end, we'll do that last. All right.
And I'm viewing it on my phone, so I might be squinting and taking my time with it. So I'll try and go through it as quickly as possible.
No, you're fine. Let me share the screen again, and then we are ready to go. I'll mute myself.
Okay, thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. I'll go ahead and go to the next screen. This cover screen doesn't have too much information on it. Okay, so definitions and procurement methods. So as Angelica alluded to earlier, our processes aren't too different. COSA utilizes competitive procurement methods to allow the city to consider factors other than price when selecting a firm for award. And really, we're going to cover a lot of stuff having to do with what we call discretionary contracts here. So factors such as qualifications, experience, innovation, creativity, project approach, these are known as discretionary solicitations. So we would use an RFP, or request for proposals, for a discretionary contract. Request for qualifications. So when we're looking for somebody that's qualified, not necessarily too concerned with price, but rather quality. And requests from competitive seal proposals. We use competitive seal proposals for janitorial services, for IT services, for any type of service that requires some kind of skill set, right? So we can go ahead and go on to the next slide. So RFPs are used for the procurement of consulting and professional services. So if you think of an accountant, a concession contract, or somebody that's going to come in and consult on behalf of the city, we would use an RFP for that. An RFQ, request for qualifications, is, sorry, navigating on my phone, used solely to determine competence. Price cannot be considered when looking for a firm that's going to be awarded on an RFQ. So an example there, as Angelica alluded to, is professional engineering. Finally, we've got RFCSPs for procurement of goods or non-professional services such as insurance, high technology, janitorial services, food services, etc. You know, in those cases, as Sarah started when as we started this call, we've got the SAEW process out there, or the SAEW program, that allows for about 20 points. We've got 15 to 20 points allotted for price. Especially for high technology procurements, we like to reserve the majority of the points for proposed plan. We want to know how you plan to approach the problem, or handle the solution, or let the solution handle the city's problem, so to say. And that's why we reserve more there than we would ordinarily for price or even experience. We want to know what your approach is going to be to handle the problem. So that's how we would use an RFCSP for technology. I'll go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So the key components for an RFP, RFQ, and RFCSP, you've got a background, a scope of services, a term, you have pre-submittal conference, site visits, you have proposal requirements, submission of proposals, restriction of communication, evaluation criteria, award of contract, and schedule of events. Those are all components within the solicitation. As we start, and that's what you should expect to return to us. As we start to evaluate these, we're going to look at experience, background, qualifications, look at proposed plan, look at compensation or pricing. We're going to forward documents that come, utilization plans, to the small business office to consider through the SAEW ordinance. We're going to look for local preference if applicable, and look to see where it could be applied. And we're going to look to apply veterans preference when applicable. So veterans preference and local preference are applied to RFPs. When price is a determining factor, we do not use local preference or veterans preference, and we do not use them for RFCSPs. Necessary forms, again, this is how you can guarantee that you'll get thrown out, right? If you don't return general information forms or references, or not thrown out, but not seriously considered, better stated. Contract disclosure form and litigation disclosure form, pricing schedule, SAEW forms, local preference forms, certificate of interested parties, that's a state form, and the signature page and proposal checklist. And we ask that you use a proposal checklist to go back and make sure that you capture all of those needs within the RFP or RFCSP document. Next slide, please. So how to maximize your points. For experience, background, qualification, you're going to want to include key personnel and resumes. Be very specific on your team structure and be very specific about past experience. Don't generalize. Don't just state that you've been a teacher for 40 years, right? Tell me, you taught chemistry, right? And that's why you're qualified to, make hand sanitizer or something like that. Proposed plan, typically 20 to 30 points. Restate the issue. We're asking for you to solve a problem. So restate that problem and show the understanding of our needs. Sell your solution. Hit all key points and address anything that would be required in the statement of work. I'm looking again at an IT contract. If you're going to be submitting something, I want to know how you're going to approach it and exactly how that project is going to fold out. And then map your timeline, address milestones, and expected deliverables. For pricing, propose according to the price schedule. The worst thing you can do is to freeform a price schedule. We do allow for other incidentals to be included, but for the most part, we lay it out there for you and really ask that you adhere to the price schedule. Pay attention to format. Non-conforming price schedules could negatively impact scores. Again, if options are available, note them separately and don't use ranges. Be very specific. If you're expecting to offer an 18% discount from list price for parts and you're going to bill $40 an hour for labor, be very specific. Don't say 18 to 20% or 18 to 40% because we're going to be expecting the 40% discount throughout the contract, and that's going to hurt you in the end. SAEW points may vary based on procurement type and industry category, up to 20 points. The other preference programs include local preference up to 10 points and veterans preference up to 5 points. So again, the points are program specific. You need to refer to the solicitation document for information on points and their application. Next screen, please. So the local preference program, there's two ways to qualify for the local preference program. You can be a local business that's headquartered within the incorporated limits of the city of San Antonio for a minimum of 1 year, or you can be a local business that has an office that is incorporated with the limits of the city of San Antonio. So there are some vendors that we do business with that may have a principal office in Austin and a secondary office in San Antonio. As long as 20% of your employees or a minimum of 100 employees are regularly based in the city of San Antonio, you would qualify for the local preference program. So there's a map here that indicates where the local preference program applies and where it doesn't. Again, it has to be within the city of San Antonio. It cannot be Balcones Heights. It cannot be Alamo Heights. It cannot be Castle Hills. Those are all within the city of San Antonio, but they're independent, and local preference is not applicable to those areas. Next slide, please. So the local preference program for low bid contracts, up to 3% of the price preference for a low bid contract. So if we're looking at something and each widget is $1 from the low bidder and a local bidder came in and bid $1.02, we would likely award to the local bidder as long as they met the local preference guidelines. You're within that 3% tolerance. For discretionary contracts, RFPs, up to 10 points are allocated. And again, it's either 5 or 10 for discretionary contracts. Goods and non-professional service contract where price is a sole basis for award, we do not use local preference. And these are just like the SAEW program, you're self-reporting. This is self-certification, and we validate. So we validate either through the SCTRCA and your actual address through the Bexar County Appraisal District to make sure that you fit the criteria. Next slide, please. So the veteran-owned small business preference program, again, pretty self-explanatory. If you're a local business, I'm sorry, not even a local business. If you're a veteran-owned business and you're registered with either the SCTRCA or the SBA as a veteran-owned business, and you submit on a solicitation that features a veteran preference that features a veterans preference program, and the 5 points that are allocated for that, you would receive those points. RFPs, use local preference, and that some other solicitations within the city, but not for low bid and not for RFCSPs. For those, we only consider local preference in low bid situations, and then tracking forms for veterans preference. So the small print here, this program does not apply to federally funded contracts, anything that's governed by Chapter 252 of Texas Local Government Code, and any purchase under $50,000. Next slide, please. So you get up to 5 preference points. It applies to discretionary contracts not governed by statute, and the statute that's referred to there is Texas Local Government Code 252. There is no geographic limitation, so there is no requirement that you reside within the city of San Antonio to receive the veterans preference points. And the certification, again, is checked through the SBA or other entity with same certification requirements, which in this case, which would be the SCTRCA. Next slide, please.
That's the end of it.
Oh, great.
You did it, Jorge.
Yay.
Yay.
It's been a long time since I've done that one.
Yeah, no, you were fine.
Okay, thanks everybody. So we'll be available for questions a little later.
Yes, thank you so much, Jorge, for kind of impromptu going up and doing this. I apologize for that video not working, but great job. Thank you. This last portion is about our SPADA program and then a high-level overview. I know we're over 2:30, but I'm going to just run right through this. And we'll just take any questions, any comments, anything like that at the very end. So now with this, with the screen shared, I'm going to continue moving forward. So again, as I mentioned, I'm going to overview our SPADA program. Next slide. Here we go. The SPADA program stands for Small Business Economic Development Advocacy, SPADA. It is a mouthful, but you can say it. The purpose of this program, as you can see, is to promote the use of local, small, minority, and women-owned business on city contracts, and then vice versa, for the city to work with these types of small businesses. This is just an overview of how this program applies. It's solicitations over $50,000 or funding and developer agreements over $50,000. As you can see below, that's the industry breakdown. So this is how we break down city solicitations into these 5 categories here. The next thing is the eligibility. So there's 3 things that you want to do in order to be eligible for this specific program. So the first is to be certified through the South Central Texas Certification Agency. That is how we qualify if you are a small, minority, or women-owned business. The second thing is to then be headquartered or demonstrate significant business presence, as Jorge had just mentioned before, in the SAMHSA area. So with this is the SAMHSA area. You can see the counties pointed out here. What we mean, like Jorge mentioned, is to be headquartered or have at least 20% of your employees that are regularly based here. And then the third thing that you'll want to do, which I covered previously, was to register your business with the city of San Antonio. So that process we are making into a video, so it'll be really fancy and nice on the website. But it's free to do, and that's going through the city's e-procurement system to register your organization as a vendor through that. Next is the SPADA program. So this applies, as we covered at the very beginning, to discretionary and low bid contracts. We certify only through the SCTRCA. As I think I briefly mentioned at the beginning, it's up to 20 preference points on a city bid or contract. And then we can also do up to 40% of subcontracting goals to that. And the last thing, I'm sorry, just to note here, before I move on to the last slide, this is a really handy chart that we have. This is also on the city's bid and contract opportunities page under our annual procurement guide. So this is a really neat little graphic that we created that kind of checks off for which specific type of solicitation this preference program might have. And we'll share this with you at the very end after this so you can have it. So this last part, I will overview. Basically, everything that we talked about falls into this procurement life cycle process is how we call it. So first, a city department would submit a project online. They would submit an opportunity. After that, onto the second portion, I didn't change that, but they would work with then finance or the public works department, formerly TCI, to come up with a scope in order to validate that. Then they'd determine any preference points, things like that that apply to it. The next thing is that it would go then to the small business office team, who would then perform any analysis or recommendations for the SPADA program, any points, goals. This is all on a contract by contract basis. From there, then they will submit that to the goal setting committee. And just as a side note on the goal setting committee, it's a formal city board or commission, as y'all might be familiar with zoning, planning, different things like that. It's made up of a city manager designee who is the presiding chair, a department representative, and a representative from public works or finance. Depending on the type of solicitation, somebody from the small business office and two citizen members could be appointed to participate on this as well. So that's just a side note. And back to that goal setting committee box here at the top. From here, the goal setting committee, each person has a vote. They will then vote on the small business office's recommendations. The cool thing about this now is that it's all online, which is super fancy, and we're getting there. Once all of these votes are tallied from the goal setting committee, our office, the small business office, will use the results to create documents that then inform prospective bidders about the goals and evaluation points that were voted upon. So all this documentation will then be added to the bid or solicitation that was started and submitted by the city department at the very beginning of this process. After that, we will hold a pre-submittal conference. So this is the opportunity to learn about the project, ask any questions, and then get a chance to review the scope and any of the preference programs or the SPADA program that could be applied. Eventually, the bid will close. We will evaluate all these submissions and process them. So for this specifically, it's applicable for all solicitations. So if the lowest bidder meets the minimum requirements and also meets those SPADA goals that we mentioned here, then they'll be recommended to City Council for approval, and they'll do the voting and everything. Specifically for discretionary projects, there is an evaluation committee. And so from there, they'll review all the proposals and everything like that, and then rank it based on a score of 0 to 100, as I believe Jorge had mentioned earlier in his presentation. So from there, then the projects will be ranked, and then again, like I said, be submitted to City Council for approval. Whew, that was a process. So the video that we created before it goes in depth into all of this, so that way you can replay it, because I did go through that kind of fast. So with that, I will end it and take any questions. Do we have any questions or anything that people had here? No questions? Okay. Well then, if we don't have any questions on here or on the YouTube channel, I just want to thank you all for kind of bearing with us as we had these tech issues. We will share all of this and make sure the videos do work when we share it to the Launch SA team, so that way they can get it out and share it publicly with you all. And then just stay tuned and follow us on our social media page. Send us an email. All of our contact information will be shared with you all at the end of this. So if y'all need anything, just reach out and we will be here to help. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much. And yeah, if anybody that didn't register that might be on YouTube, please do so we can share the videos with all registrants. And then if not, you can catch them later through the city website. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for listening in, and make sure to check out our last session right now at 3 on right sizing, the new way of work. And we'll close out SAEW with that session. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Daniela.